Polaris has regularly pushed the envelope of sports side-by-side performance with each new model they've released. Their latest model, the Pro-R, released in 2022, nearly doubled the displacement of everything on the market with its 2-liter naturally aspirated inline 4-cylinder engine. It also boasted increased suspension travel and vehicle dimensions that translated into next-level performance on the trail. Mainly unchanged in its first 3 years, Polaris made some exterior styling changes, interior revisions, and added some interior climate control features for 2025, leaving the proven engine, chassis, and suspension nearly unchanged. In this test of the Polaris Pro-R, we'll cover the 2025 updates and provide you with our setup tips, performance review, and recap of how the Pro-R held up over 1,500 miles of fast-paced driving. UTV On Demand's 1,500-mile test of the Polaris Pro-R was made possible by Make staying in contact simple with the wireless PackTalk Edge ORV communication system from Cardo. Dynamic mesh communication provides up to a 1-mile range between units and up to 5 miles in larger groups. Water, dust, and mud-proof, it offers easy in-helmet installation with sound by JBL. Offering hands-free voice-activated operation with up to 13 hours of talk time on a single charge. PackTalk is ideal for both in-car and car-to-car communication, allowing you to connect up to 15 units at one time. Ideal for side-by-sides, ATVs, dirt bikes, or any other type of off-road use.
You guys ready?
We're ready.
Roll it.
Learn more or order yours now at cardosystems.com. UTV On Demand's ultimate sports side-by-side shootout.
Subscribe now.
See who comes out on top when the 2-liter naturally aspirated 225 horsepower Polaris Pro-R takes on the 1-liter turbocharged 240 horsepower Can-Am Maverick R in a battle to see who builds the ultimate sports side-by-side. Coming soon to UTV On Demand. '25 updates. The Pro-R received new styling changes from front to back for 2025. The front end received a broader, flatter appearance. It's complete with new LED Fang accent lighting and headlights, which are animated on startup and shutdown on ultimate trim packages and up. New half doors are higher at the top, better blending into the lines of the car front to rear, with no gaps for a tighter look. They're fully sealed for improved interior protection from the elements, featuring an armrest on the inner liner. New radiator deflectors help divert hot air from the firewall to reduce interior heat. New air intakes on the hood channel the cleanest, coolest air possible into the driver and passenger floorboard area, complete with automotive-style adjustable vents. The new seat design was borrowed from the recently overhauled RZR XP 1000 due to their increased bolstering. Fan-assisted seat-back ventilation and heated seat bases are featured on the ultimate trim packages and up. Polaris also worked to tidy up the looks and function of the interior, starting with new A-pillar covers that integrate into the dash. Lines are tighter and more consistent, with revised weather-sealed in-dash storage boxes accompanied by an overall updated dash design. A new, bright and colorful gauge cluster features dual-sweep analog dials and a 4-inch LCD panel. The Ultimate Edition's Rockford Fosgate audio system was upgraded to a Stage 4 setup, with new front tweeters and 6.5-inch full-range speakers front and rear, driven by a 400-watt amp. There's also a 10-inch subwoofer under the dash, with its own integrated 400-watt amp. For improved durability, the transmission's gear selector cable was beefed up for 2025. The Pro-R Ultimate finally gains beadlock wheels, which are color matched. Pro-Rs with dynamic suspension have always allowed you to push a single button to fully firm up the shocks for a limited time. Double tapping will now fully firm up the shock's damping until you tap the button again to release it. There's also a new Sport Trim package, offering a slightly lower price point that we'll get into in the next segment. Trim packages. For 2025, the Ride Command and analog suspension equipped premium package has been replaced with a more price point focused sport model. It features the same horsepower, dimensions, tire sizes with a square setup, and suspension travel as the Pro-R Ultimate. Ride Command is not equipped, so the shocks are fully analog Walker Evans needle shocks, 2.5's front and 3.0's rear. They feature threaded spring preload and 16-way compression damping adjustability. While there is no roof, it does come with performance car appropriate 6-point harnesses. Steering is tilt adjustable. Without Ride Command or electronic suspension, it's the obvious choice for those seeking a lower price point. It would also be our choice for building a custom race machine. The Sport retails for $8,000 less than the Ultimate at $34,999. The Pro-R Ultimate adds Polaris Dynamics DV electronically controlled suspension, featuring Fox X2 3.0 live valve shocks. Shock modes are selected on the steering wheel or on the Ride Command infotainment system screen. Ride Command also displays the view from the Ultimate's rear-facing camera. Other upgrades include animated accent lighting on startup and shutdown, a painted front fascia and center hood, Rockford Fosgate Stage 4 audio, color-matched beadlock wheels, tilt and telescopic adjustable steering, and an aluminum roof. The new beadlock wheels and other features come with a $2,000 price increase over 2024 at $42,999. The Factory Armored Edition builds on the Ultimate, adding Pro Armor front and rear bumpers with skid plates and a 32-inch rigid light bar. It also receives unique Pro Armor flow-formed beadlock wheels for $44,999. The Pro-R Race Replica Edition comes in black with purple accents, including the front LED accent lights. It builds on the Ultimate, adding upgraded Rockford Fosgate Stage 6 audio, Method 407 bead grip wheels, 32-inch BF Goodrich KM3 tires, a 32-inch rigid light bar, rigid rear chase light, and front and rear bumpers for $45,999. All trim packages are also available in 4-seat configurations at different price points. The test. We put 1,500 miles on a 2022 Polaris Pro-R Ultimate, switching over to a new loaner car for testing in 2024 that we racked up an additional 1,000 miles on.
Hey, I'm Alan Knowles from CT Racing, out here to bring you the info on the Pro-R for DTV On Demand. And I've had a bit of experience in the Pro-R. I had a 2022, and then we changed that for the 2024, so I had a lot of seat time in them, so I can give you a good rundown on the likes, don't likes, or whatever, and we'll let you have it. We'll start. We're going to give you a rundown on the tactical stuff in the machine that I liked, didn't like, so forth, mostly liked, but and then we'll give you some info on setups, things that we did. We learned with the long-term testing in the car. Have a lot of good info for you if you're a Pro-R driver.
Interior and other details.
Getting in and out of the car, it's tall, so if you're short, you'll have to figure out a way to get in and out. Interior design, I think the interior design is a bit cramped for me. I'm 6'4". I've always, been crotched up in Polaris a bit. Interior comfort, I mean, it's pretty comfortable. You have a place for your legs to go. It has a step where you can put your foot on and block yourself in, keep yourself from getting slammed around the car. I think the passenger's got a hand, something to hang on to so you don't beat your arms up. So I would say it's comfortable. Again, I just don't have as much room as I think it should have. The control and operation is very intuitive. It's laid out well. You've got 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive on this side. The headlights, everything is right how it should be. And you don't have to read a book. There's another car that I drove recently, and you're trying to think, how does that work? Because it's not labeled correctly, and you had to think about it too much, and that was quite annoying. But the Polaris, it's simple. It's just what it needs to be. It does not tend to get hot as far as the motor in the cockpit. The motor's back there, and it's got shielding, stuff like that to keep it from getting up into the driver's compartment. It's probably noisy. I don't know. I wear a helmet. We have communication between us and a radio to communicate with our friends around us, and it's just way better that way. I wouldn't feel safe anymore without a helmet. The speeds of the stuff we do. Sightlines. The sightlines are real good in the Polaris. I move myself up and I can still see when I'm going up a dune, and I can still see good. They have the roof back far enough, have good sight lines. It's really good. It's excellent. So I don't have anything to complain about with the Polaris on sight lines. The doors are pretty well sealed up since nothing's coming in the car. There's quite a bit of storage in the car. You've got a couple of places for drinks. You've got a place between the driver and co-driver, and then you've got the bed. It's probably the best bed of any car. The things that I like about the bed compared to early Polarises, especially like the 900s and 1000s, you had to take the whole dang car apart to get the bed out. This one, you just got like 4 or 6 bolts, you just screw it out and the whole bed comes out and you have access to the motor. It's really done right. The bed drops in. I can run a tire up over it and still have at least 12 inches to put my ice chest and my toolbox, and still have a little bit of a sight line out the rear mirror. So I think that's all real good over the tire. So I think it's real good.
With new gauges, an updated dash design, improved seats and doors, our already positive opinion of the Pro-R's interior has marginally improved for 2025. Engine performance. The Pro-R is powered by Polaris ProStar Fury 2.0 inline 4-cylinder engine, displacing 1,997 cc's with 4 valves and double overhead cams per cylinder. It's water-cooled, naturally aspirated, and fuel-injected, claimed to produce 225 horsepower. Fuel is drawn from a 12-gallon tank. A drive-by-wire throttle offers 3 modes: rock, sport, and race, retarding or advancing throttle delivery for different power character feel to best match your terrain and driving style. The top end mates up to a very beefed up continuously variable transmission featuring high and low forward ranges plus neutral reverse and park.
It's got a lot of power, obviously. It's only a few horsepower second to the Can-Am, but it's got a lot of torque and a lot of pull, and it's not leaned on very hard, so it's going to last a long time. It's going to do better than any of the 2-cylinders that are kind of high-strung, I think, so you'll have more durability out of it. Low-end power, it has good torque, good pull. It doesn't need low-end power like a gearbox car because it's CVT, so it's not very relevant, but it does have what you need for bottom, and it does pull good off the bottom. Mid-range is brilliant, and the top end is where it really shines. The thing pulls from 70 to, it's 70 to 90 or somewhere about there with the stock tires. We put big tires on it, and the thing would go over 100, no issue. Well, no issue for me, but if you make a mistake at 100, it's going to cost you, so don't do that. Transmission, just fine, does everything fine. Had no issues with either car, so there's no issue with tranny. Does what it's supposed to. People take a diminished view on belt-driven cars, the CVT, because they initially had a lot of problems. But for our last few cars, we haven't shed a belt. I mean, we'll run 2,000 miles on a belt and change just to do it, but we haven't lost a belt in years. So this car has a beefier, wider belt and a longer belt, and haven't had an issue with it. So I don't think you will, because like I said, we went 1,500 miles in the first car without ever changing a belt, and probably 1,000 miles in this car, no issue at all. So not expecting any belt issues. Engine braking, there's a limited amount with a CVT car, and you can change to get rid of it completely if you want, but I don't find it makes much difference for what I do. Destination driving, stuff like that, engine braking's fine. Drivability of the car, it is very easy to drive, very drivable. You can be real precise with it. It does what it's supposed to do. The power is easy to use. It's not some uncontrollable beast. So it's a very drivable car. They can get away from you if you boot it up too hard, but don't do that.
Drivetrain modes include two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, and four-wheel drive lock. The four-wheel drive setting utilizes Polaris all-wheel drive system, engaging power to the front wheels when the rear tires begin spinning marginally faster than the fronts. We rarely ever engage the front differential lock, as it was simply unnecessary for normal trail riding, although it was nice to have in reserve.
Four-wheel drive engagement, it engages, disengages while you're on the fly. It'll just catch itself, so you just four-wheel drive, take it out of four-wheel drive, whatever you want. I tend to run mine four-wheel drive an awful lot. It helps pull the front end around the corners. I do tend to kick it out when I run on asphalt. I don't know if it's necessary, it's just something I've always done. If in two-wheel drive, it's going to be a bit loose. The back end, you don't want to drift around a lot. Some people like that. I tend not to like to. We get the thing kicked out when we want to. We're going down graded roads and stuff, but typically I want to get in the throttle as hard as I can to get it up off a corner, so I don't want the back end come around trying to pass the front end. That's never good. So I run four-wheel drive.
Handling and suspension. The Pro-R steel frame and cage is their most robust so far, built to deal with the engine's massive power and torque output. Sway bar equipped boxed dual A-arm suspension is used up front. Lower shock mounts are found on the lower A-arms, which improves strength, handling, and suspension action. The sway bar equipped rear suspension features boxed trailing arms. Dual high clearance radius rods are used at the rear of the machine, with the toe link traveling front to rear inside the trailing arms. The Pro-R delivers 22¼ inches of wheel travel front and 24½ inches of wheel travel rear, with many racers shortening the suspension travel on premium model side-by-sides these days. It's literally more than enough. Fox 3.0 X2 live valve shocks are equipped with internal bypass ports for a more progressive damping curve. Polaris Dynamics DV 3.0 system is the brains of the operation, tuning compression and rebound damping on the fly. It offers 4 different suspension modes: Comfort, Baja, Rock, and Track, with unique power steering calibrations for each. Within all modes, the system takes into account throttle, brake, and steering inputs, speed, vehicle angle, and if the tires have left the ground, adjusting compression and rebound damping on the fly. For unexpected big hits at speed, there's a button on the steering wheel that can be tapped or double tapped to temporarily apply or hold maximum compression damping until you tap to release it. Electronic power steering is mated to a quick turn rack to minimize hand-over-hand steering. The Pro-R Ultimate rolls on 32-10-15 Maxxis Rampage tires that are best suited for sandy, rocky desert conditions. They're mounted on 5-lug 15-inch cast aluminum wheels that are beadlocks for 2025. Overall width is 74 inches with 104.5-inch wheelbase, 136.5-inch overall length, and 72.8-inch overall height. Off the showroom floor, it offers 16 inches of ground clearance. Estimated dry weight is 2,327 pounds.
Small bumps, chatter bumps, stuff like that. That's my really only complaint with the suspension. It on the small, rocky, chattery bumps, it tends to beat you up a little bit too much. Even the softest setting that you have as an option. It got markedly better when I took 2 inches of preload out of it. And when you dropped the 2 inches, the A-arms came out and it gave it more leverage, and it did seem to soften it up a noticeable amount. My other cars where I have aftermarket suspension or have done the suspension are plusher. I don't see with as much travel as it has why there's not a reason to have it plusher. If I was keeping the car as mine, I would certainly valve it. You can always flick the switch on the dash and get more out of it and stiffen it up if you need to. But I tend to run in the softest basically all the time, unless I'm pounding some whoops or something like that. Large bumps, it's good. That's where it probably shines the best, is the large whoops, large bumps, stuff like that. In the whoops, it's good. You can just flat foot it and get on top of them if it's possible to get on top of them and just skate. Usually for that, I'm going to go the middle setting on a thing. You could go the stiffest setting, but I don't see the point. I can get it to do what I want to do in the middle setting, and that's pretty much how I drive it all the time when I'm going through whoops. Jumps, jump landing, stuff like that. I don't do a lot of jumping. We're destination driving. I didn't take this particular car to a motocross track and go out and jump the thing. I hit some jumps, hit some big rollers, aired it out, but it doesn't do anything it's not supposed to do. The shocks, all you have to adjust is the settings on the dash and the preload, and that's all you got to work with. And that's what we worked with, and it made a big difference. So there you go. Cornering, obviously this big of a car is going to be extremely stable on a side hill. It's a wide car. When you set it up like we do, lower down a little bit, it just tracks side hill, dunes, anything like that you want to do. So there's no issue there. It doesn't want to fall over. It corners well. You notice that big lump of coal behind you. It's more noticeable than 1,000. So you got to get used to driving that. I'll tell you that. But it's not a big adjustment. You just got to deal with it. The steering precision is precise. I tend to arch my cars out as far as I can in the corner, cut them back in the inside so I can get in the throttle and let it drift up off the corner and get on it hard. And it's just the driving style that works for me. And it's really precise. I can put it right where I want it every time. Stability, high-speed stability in particular, it's very stable and it tracks really well. You know, we ran it up, my wife and I ran it up to, we had a GPS at 103 a couple times with the big tires on it in a day going down roads we'd never been down. You just trust it, it goes, and if you have experience driving desert, stuff like that, it'll let you go, give you all you want. So we had no problem with stability. It doesn't want to turn real quick or react too fast. It's good.
Brakes. Big power and weight require massive stopping power. Four-wheel hydraulic disc brakes feature triple piston calipers front, dual piston calipers rear, and steel braided brake lines.
It has good brakes, very positive feeling. It stops hard for a big car. It stops as hard as the tires will let it stop. So the brakes are extremely good. Brakes feel good. It doesn't take a lot of pedal pressure to get the thing loaded up. I tend to 2-foot drive, so I just lift the throttle and get on the brake, and I have no issue with the braking at all. Brake balance is correct. It doesn't do anything it shouldn't do. I'd be a critic of that if it did, but I have no problems with the braking.
Pro-R setup tips.
I'm going to run through some of the setups and settings that we found that work in the car. Hopefully this information, works for you and helps you out. We didn't like the way the car handled stock. Took it out to half a sou, and it beat the crap out of us. I dropped the car 2 inches front and rear. Just to jack the thing up. All you gotta do is jack it up, break the preload loose, run the preload up, set it down, measure it. It'll be 1 inch or something, 1.25 inches. Keep going. 2 inches front and rear was the magic number. It really made the car handle plusher in the small stuff. Didn't hurt us in the big stuff. Car sat lower, drifted better, set up better for corners. So that's a big plus. I don't know why they have them sitting so high. I think so when you show up at the dealer, you're like, oh, it's got 48 inches of travel. I don't know what their motive is, but it's too tall. You need to drop it down. It just handles better, works better, unless you're doing the rock bouncing stuff, something like that I don't do. But the 2 inches helped a lot. One thing that I do in all these cars is I change the oil to keep the filter clean. I don't have a particle separator in this car yet. It wasn't out, but I think it is now. Highly recommend the particle separators when they do come out. I'm sure they're available for it. It just makes the air filter stay so much cleaner. As it is, we're changing the filter every 200-300 miles, and I change the oil every 400 miles, sometimes 300. Just cheap, it's easy. Can just change it, do it.
Long-term durability. Polaris seems to have upped their build quality with the Pro-R. We did have one minor electronic issue with the front differential on the first year 2022 model that was corrected by the dealer. After that, we had no further issues during our 1,500 mile test of the 2022 and 1,000 mile test of the 2024 models. Despite Alan's lead-foot driving style, any machine can be broken. So if you run into something and break a Pro-R, that's your fault. We have zero breakage issues to report. No belts, axles, nothing. Conclusion. The Polaris Pro-R is a supercar that lives up to the hype. Its muscle car power plant delivers massive, responsive power across the RPM range. With twice the displacement of the competition, the engine's state of tune is mild in comparison, which should make it last much longer.
I think that's what you got in the Polaris Pro-R. I hope this gives you some information that makes you want to go out and buy one. As long as you're not on the East Coast where you need the small car to get to those trails, you'll really like a West Coast car. It's a dominant car. It's one of the two favorites to buy out here. So look it over, buy it, you'll be happy. Alan Knowles, out.
Learn more about the 2025 Polaris Pro-R and their full line of side-by-sides and ATVs at polarisoffroad.com.